Western Spring Television. Ours it is.
Hello and welcome. Yes, indeed, welcome to Western Spring Television, Oshobo, precisely in the suburb called Agunbelewo. The program is Pertinent Questions. On this program, for 45 minutes, we try to X-ray, engage our guests. And this day, I'm going to engage a senior lawyer in the state. Why am I doing so? I'm doing so because the Nigerian Bar Association is the umbrella body of all lawyers in the country. When they meet annually, or rather, is it annually or biannually? Yes. When they do such meetings, the topical issues they treat become national issues. One such of their meetings took place in Lagos 2 weeks ago. I have with me in the studio, as I described him, a senior lawyer who has been in practice for more than 20 years. Mr. or rather I should say Barrister Kayode TItioye is my guest. He is the Director, Law Reform, Osun State Ministry of Justice. That tells you he's a senior lawyer. Barrister Kayode, you're most welcome to the program.
Thank you very much, sir. My delight to be here.
Yes, your MBA. Let's begin by asking, what is the MBA in the life of a Nigerian lawyer?
Thank you very much. The Nigerian Bar Association is the association comprising everyone that is called to the bar in Nigeria. The interesting thing about MBA is that once you choose to be a lawyer, and upon the conclusion of the one-year mandatory law school academic program, which qualifies you to be called to the Nigerian Bar by the Council of Legal Education. As the saying goes, you are called to the bar. Now, there is an association of everybody in Nigeria that has been called to the bar. It's called the Nigerian Bar Association. And it has acquired some statutory status by recognition, the Legal Practitioners Act, and there are also other delegated laws, like the rules of professional ethics, another regulatory instrument that are administered by the Nigerian Bar Association. So in a way, even though it's an association, all the lawyers in Nigeria are statutory, one way or the other, members.
Yes, I was going to ask that question. So there's a compulsion behind it. You just must be a member.
Well, in practice, you must be a member. But by law, constitutionally, there's a freedom. The Constitution guarantees freedom of association. And in as much as it's an association, you can choose not to be.
But you have cited some
that's why
constitutional issue.
No,
statutory.
Now,
okay.
That's why I said, if you choose to be a lawyer in Nigeria and you are called to the bar, there are some benefits and privileges that the law put in the hands or purview of the Nigerian Bar Association. So for you to derive those benefits and privileges, for you to have the guarantee of some welfare and some care and some monitoring and supervision, you will necessarily have to choose to be a member of the. So when
some measure of compulsion there.
There is nobody wielding a big stick over your head.
Yes, but
the need to access the privileges, the need to derive the benefits
Can one
called-
practice without belonging to the NBA?
Well, yes, you can practice without
A Nigerian lawyer being a member.
without participating as a member, but then there's what they call bar practicing fee. You see, we must distinguish between the bar and the bar association. There's only one bar association, and there is the reason why I'm being careful about this is that there's a group of Nigerian lawyers now who have elected and have chosen to start a Nigerian law society, and they are gradually gaining momentum. However, there's a debate going on, just as you put it, whether you can legally and statutorily practice law in Nigeria without being now a member of the Nigerian Bar Association. But then you quickly go back to the constitutional fundamental right to freedom of association, which gives you the right to choose to be or not to be. So if you choose not to be a member of the Nigerian Bar Association, does that mean you have chosen not to be a lawyer in Nigeria? No.
Okay,
So,
explain to me.
Some people are saying, okay, we can form other associations, societies that provides the privileges, the benefits, the trainings, the mandatory trainings and skills and exposures that every Nigerian lawyer must continually get. And so, for example, there is the continuing legal education, there is the licensing, there is the accredited number of training hours that you must get within a year as a member of the bar. And the Nigerian Bar Association coordinated that. So they said, look, we can have another association, another society provide that service. So you can pick and choose where you want to belong once you are in the bar. It is not just be the Nigerian Bar Association as we know it today that can regulate you and that can guarantee to you the benefits that you can derive from the NBA. But for today, NBA is the big brother. NBA is the umbrella association. NBA is what is known, recognized by the government, recognized by the law, and recognized by the system. And so,
there's element of compulsion behind it, whether you accept it or not. But my point is, what do lawyers stand to gain against the guy who maybe perhaps would have chosen not to belong to the association?
Well, like I said, when you are called to the bar as an association. The fact that you are paying your bar practicing fee is to the effect that you are paying a membership fee of that association. Part of it come directly to the association. Part, I think, go to the general counsel of the bar, right? I suppose, but then you have paid a membership fee. And the association owes you some duty of care, welfare, professional training. For example, there's the Institute for Continuing Legal Education that runs and also accredited several trainers that train lawyers from time to time to ensure that they are not stale and that their knowledge is up to date and law is dynamic and they are keeping abreast of the latest development of the law. If you are not in the Bar Association, you may not be able to readily access such training, such accredited training. That is one. Number two, the NBA provides welfare packages for lawyer, insurance, recognitions, protection. There are all kinds of attempts at humiliating, at bullying, at abusing the rights of lawyers. The association protects the rights of every lawyer that's called to bar from day one. Being a member guarantees that to you. Also, it's a regulatory body on behalf of the outright statutory body. It's a statutory body in itself because as the Legal Practitioners Act recognizes it as the umbrella association of lawyers. And now it regulates a lot of things that the Nigerian lawyer does. If a Nigerian lawyer behaves below the required standard of ethics, there's the NBA Legal Practitioner Disciplinary Committee supervised by the Council of the Bar, and the NBA has a role to play. People can write petition to the Bar Association complaining about a lawyer of his misdeed or unethical practices.
Barrister,
Discipline.
I still hold the view Well, I'm not learned, I am just educated. But I can see, you mentioned Legal Practitioners Act regulating the NBA. Did I get it right? Did I get it
Legal
right?
Practitioners Act gives some responsibilities and recognitions to the Nigerian Bar
NBA.
Association.
Which means or presupposes that anybody who wants to set up an alternate body like that may not have their way.
They have a right to set up
They may
alternate
not.
bodies.
It might not grow. They won't
No,
allow it to go. There is an internal mechanism.
The law is dynamic. The alternate bodies, for example, we follow due process of the law to apply for such recognition, to apply for such approval to also regulate, and if they meet the requisite criterion, they will be granted. If they are denied, they have a right to go to court to apply for mandamus. That we are qualified by all statutory standards to be recognized to perform such duty for our members, and we are denied. I mean, for example, the Nigerian Lawyer Society, they were registered by the Corporate Affairs Commission, and there were a lot of hues and cries about whether they should be so registered and all that.
People will go against it.
They are in court, and the fact is that they are registered today, and we know they exist. I'm not a member of the NBA.
But do they have all that the NBA has? Will the senior lawyers and not senior ones allow that new body to thrive, given the Nigerian scenario?
Well, the truth of the matter is this: Rome wasn't built in a day. You know how long that NBA has been existing? For decades and decades. So a new society or association will also pay its due, and it's the same thing in all society. If a body has been enjoying monopoly conferred on it, the new body we have to
work far,
go a long way to be able to market itself or be able to qualify to compete if need be. But then the truth of the matter is that lawyers respect the law, and we respect the constitution. So nobody can say, oh, you can't belong to any other association and you can't exist. But people will, on their own, say, okay, I'm deriving this benefit from this body. If you want to start a new one, at a certain day, perhaps they will start as a voluntary association of lawyers that is more or less social, and they will start providing alternative welfare, alternative goodwill, alternative services that perhaps parallel that the NBA is providing, and they will eventually showcase their capacity to do it formally and officially and apply to be so recognized.
But will the authorities allow them to do so?
I believe that even though our profession can be very conservative, our seniors and the hierarchies of the authority in the Bar Association respect the law and they respect the rule of law. When shove comes to push, the law will have its course. And if anybody stands against the right to freedom of association, that's why we have the courts. And you know, if you are lawyers, you must be able to fight for your own right, to be able to fight for the right of others. So if the people who are pushing alternative bodies, associations, professional associations in the bar are denied legitimate constitutional rights, they'll go to court and pursue it to the Supreme Court.
Let's allow it to sleep there. Justices of high courts and appeal courts, the Supreme Court, they are primarily lawyers, or they were primarily lawyers before they became justices, isn't it?
Of course, yes.
Are they entitled to be members?
First and foremost, they are members. In actual fact, for you to become a judge, you have to showcase the fact that you have been paying your annual bar practicing fee. Sometimes the number of conferences you have attended showing your learning, your exposure, and your capacity. Sometimes your activity in the bar counts. Sometimes the number of pro bono cases you have taken counts. If you are coming from the private practice or even from the official bar, the fact that you are an effective and regular consistent bar member and you attend conferences can count for your appointment either to the bench or to the silk. Also, so in essence, and you must have been called to the bar for at least 10 years before you can be appointed a judge or a senior advocate of Nigeria. And when you are called to bar, remember I said, as you are entering the bar, usually you enter the bar association, and the bar association even recommends. They write the bar association to recommend. Perhaps if there is an alternative association that is doing well too, that is so recognized, perhaps they will write them to recommend before somebody is appointed a judge or appointed to the distinguished office of his rank of the silk, senior advocate of Nigeria. You have such association that is so recognized and has so shown capacity, they might probably also request them to recommend. So in essence, that's why I say in practice, the Nigerian Bar Association is part and parcel of the life of the Nigerian. Well, it's not only Nigeria. You have the American Bar Association. I don't know an alternative association that is also at that level. Yeah. You have them all over the world.
Yeah, it's because, as you mentioned, your profession is a rather conservative one. It doesn't submit to change very easily.
All the same, the law is dynamic.
Okay.
And lawyers are evolving.
Okay. How many pro bono cases must a lawyer handle before he gets to the silk or the justice level?
I can't remember how many they stipulate now. But it's sufficient to say that he must have handled quite a number. You know, a pro bono case is a case that you do freely for indigent people or people who cannot help themselves for whatever reason. And so I think what is essential is that the privileged committee for the National Government of Nigeria or the appointing the NJC is satisfied, looking at your CV and your profile, that you indeed have satisfied that you do commit to helping people who giving access to justice to people who cannot normally afford the cost, and you are committed to the spirit of law as public service.
Last week or 2 weeks ago, you were in Lagos, the Bar Association, for your biennial conference.
Annual conference, right?
Is it annual?
It's annual.
Okay.
Every year.
When do you elect your officers?
The election of the National Executive Committee of the Bar is once in 2 years.
Oh, good.
But the conference is every year.
All right. Thank you for the correction. I was mixing the two up. What is the significance of that annual conference? What does it bring to the table to Nigerians?
Thank you very much. The significance of the conference is that lawyers that attend conference are refreshed, are retrained, are exposed to the latest development in the dynamic practice of the law. And the conference affords opportunity for legal training, continued legal education, for addressing very important burning issues in our national life as a country, addressing the issues of the rule of law, addressing the issue of the development of the justice sector, the judiciary, and legal practice generally. You will know that law permeates every aspect of the national life. The judiciary is one arm of the three arms of government. The legislature is an arm of government whose primary assignment is lawmaking. And in actual fact, for them to make good laws, they also depend on lawyers. The executive enforces the law, and for them to do it right, they depend so much on lawyers. The whole ministry is dedicated to the operations and activity of law, the Ministry of Justice, and every ministry depends on them. So when the lawyers come together, the lawyers in private practice, those on the bench, the judiciary, those in the official bar, the Ministry of Justice, corporate lawyers in banks, in companies, we exchange notes, we study, we try to address socio-legal issue, socio-political legal issue. We try to bring law, apply law to real life issues, and dissect real life issue in the light of the law. and have deep thinkers discuss the challenges of the nation in the light of the concern and how to use law to solve the problem of the nation real time. And so every time when we come together, we address national issues. So the president cannot go to sleep. The president of the nation is usually physically present, especially at the opening ceremony, or represented. Last year, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu was personally there to explain his mandate, to explain his vision, to explain why he is taking the pursuing the policy he started to pursue, and to seek support of lawyers. This year he wasn't around. He sent his vice president to address the Nigerian lawyers because the three arms of government depends on lawyers. Governance itself depends on the law, and that is an aspect. And so this conference, for example, you look at this year, last year addresses the rule of law, this year addresses pressing forward, moving forward from where we are to where we are supposed to be. And so you discover that the who is who in the operation of government, ministers, not just Attorney General, Minister, Commissioner for Justice, Minister for Justice. Several ministers are lawyers actually, and even those who are not lawyers come around, not just for the opening ceremony and the plenaries, but for different sessions to see a robust debate and discourse that will guide the direction for the emergence of new laws and their implementation for the reworking of the life and circumstances of the country. And besides that, you have so many trainings for lawyers. Now I'll give you an example. If a lawyer will attend one training, 1 day training or 2 day training on the subject matter, let me say legislative drafting, or let me say application of technology to the law, or AI, or electricity law, the new evolving field of electricity law, the participation by the subnationals, several areas of the law. If you want to attend, you probably pay, they are very expensive. You may have to pay from 150,000 to 250,000 naira just to put these trainings together. One, you pay for the hotel, you travel and all that, just for one training. And imagine the several areas of human endeavors where you need to understand what is the law that applies and how to make it work. But when you attend the MBA conference, you may have between 70 to 120 topics of trainings within between 2 to 5 days or 3 to 5 days, and we have sessions. So every lawyer we attend the trainings that are suitable for their specialization, for their practice, even military lawyers, police lawyers, and all kinds of lawyers in all fields of human endeavors. They have forums, they have sessions, they have topics for training.
They go on simultaneously.
There are breakout sessions. There are, after the opening ceremony, you have plenaries almost every day where everybody comes together, and you have several breakout sessions. You choose the one that is more beneficial to your area of practice. And so in that one conference, you gain so much exposure, experience, scholarship, training, and practice direction. And in this way, I want to sincerely, genuinely, apolitically thank the governor of Osun State. Since he came to power, I mean Senator Ademola Jackson Nuruddin Adeleke. I'm saying this as a professional, not even because I'm in the Ministry of Justice, but as a lawyer. I've been an officer of the MBA Oshogbo. I'm a senior member of the Barr. I want to thank him profoundly. Since he came to power, he has sponsored all lawyers in government to the Nigerian Bar Conference. And that meant a lot because it exposes us to the latest development in the law and helps us to do our work very well and to bring the best practice of jurisprudence to our state. I want to thank the governor very much.
Yes, in thanking him, I want to find out, it's not every lawyer who works in the Ministry of Justice. It's not every lawyer in Osun State who is a government employee that works in the Ministry of Justice. Does he sponsor them too?
No. Every lawyer has a responsibility.
Yeah.
for his own continuous education and training.
Yes, but
Every
the
lawyer has a
governor, Mr. Governor is
responsibility.
sponsoring
Mr.
those.
Governor cannot sponsor a private practitioner on his own
No,
unless he's
not a
doing
private,
charity.
not a
That's
private
what I'm saying.
practitioner.
Every
Some
government
people
lawyer.
who just hold on and get my logic. Many people who are government officials, they serve in the ministry, not necessarily in the Ministry of Justice, but they are lawyers.
Every lawyer that is working for the government of Osun State, either you are a state counsel in the Ministry of Justice or you are a commissioner, you are a lawyer, and you are working for the government of Osun State, and you are there because you are a lawyer and they need your knowledge of the law and your skill as a lawyer to impact the state. He sponsored every one of us.
Okay, that's what I want to know.
And that's highly commendable.
You don't have to be in the Ministry of Justice.
Once you are a lawyer in government, Mr. Governor sponsored up for this conference. And that is a law. It shows somebody who knows what it means to develop skill, training, and knowledge to impact the state. I want to commend the state for that, the government for that, and the governor for that.
Thank you very much for that. What burning issues did you discuss, apart from the trainings that you had?
Well, we addressed everything that you may think of that is happening in the country. Talk of the oil sector, oil and gas sector, talk of the dollarization, talk of the free market enterprise,
talk of banditry,
talk of banditry security, talk of corruption, everything. I mean, it's you apart from the plenaries, we have a session where Dr. Mrs. Okonjo Iweala came to discuss the economy. The vice president of the nation was seated, and several ministers, number of governors, including the governor of Lagos and Plateau State, and a lot of government officials, politicians, and also lawyers and journalists, all covered by all media. And the economic policy of the present administration, federal administration, was x-rayed with regard to the law and to the good of the nation.
What did you come
the
up
same
with?
thing with security. Well, Okonjo, we don't, the MBA do not take over decision making, but we advise, we guide, and we bring out leaders of thought to x-ray to assess. And Okonjo advised the government rightly to adopt economic policies actually that way. While she was encouraging Nigerians to be patient, encouraged the government to adopt policies that will be humane. And you may think it was Okonjo Iweala in a confidential self, gave it out straight. She's frank. You have to eat the humble pie to accept it when the truth is put on the table and it stares you on the face. So for the federal government to review our presentation and our opinion as given with regard to the management of the economy policy of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu and the effect on the common man on the street.
Okay, I want to still take you there because you are a very senior lawyer. What came out of it? What did the woman say? And how do you anticipate government?
The summary of Okonjo Iweala's view is that the policies in themselves are not bad, but they can be better implemented, and that they should take responsibility for the suffering of the masses if they implement it wrongly. And if they implement it the right way and they put all the indices to consideration, it will work well. So there's an indictment and there's a commendation. Good policy for not being properly implemented in the way that will not make people to suffer.
Why must NBA wait till on a yearly basis to be able to do things like this? No, I'm not saying conference only. You see, sometimes these days you don't even hear NBA criticizing government. Unless you come to a conference like this, in which the umbrella is that every Nigerian lawyer is there. But the MBA you put together as the leadership, these days don't.
Thank you very much. MBA does not wait to the conference to engage the government. In fact, I can tell you the truth that the NBA engages the government every day. We are not just reactionary. We respond to issue. We are proactive. However, every administration will change leadership every 2 years, and every administration have their style. President Yakubu Mukau have a style that, look, if you have access to the ears of those handling the will of government, why go confrontational on the pages of newspaper, which will make them to be defensive and find it difficult to listen to you and to probably implement your proposals. You can sit down with them around table and engage them. You can even look at each other's face. You can be tough on each other behind closed door, and they will respect the fact that you give them the courtesy of allowing them to look at the issues before they go to the press, or they be or not on the faces of newspaper. Now, some others believe that, look, if you don't confront, the government will not listen. And so you have some leadership that will do almost everything. They come out publicly with the way they are confronting the government. It makes them to be known and recognized for what they are doing, but sometimes it makes it difficult for the political class to listen, because they will not want to be painted, to be seen, to be painted as if they don't know what they are doing. So every leadership has their own style, but I can assure you, for example, the immediate past leadership of the Barr achieved a lot. You will recognize the fact that now the executives and the legislature have agreed to increase the remuneration of judges by 300%. All the efforts for years, for decades, they didn't achieve that. But when you have a man in leadership that says, look, we have an Attorney General, a Minister of Justice as an effective legal practitioner, a courtroom lawyer, a senior advocate of Nigeria of repute and respect, and you have a bad leader, the NBA president, who said, look, let us sit down together, invite judges, invite the executive, let's look at it, let us reason together. At the end of the day, they have achieved it. The legislature passed it, the executive signed it. That is a transformation. However, we can go on the street and protest, we can go to the court and sue, we achieve some. There are some government that you achieve some, you get results with them only by fighting them. There are some government who listen and reason. Right. And so styles differ. We have a leadership now that is, perhaps, we can't define it yet, a very responsible leadership of the Barr. He has been the president of the Barr, Alpha Musigwe, SAN. Mr. Alpha Musigwe, SAN, has been the general secretary of the Barr before. And when he was general secretary under the leadership of Mr. Osun, SAN, they achieved a lot too. But now, he's younger and can be more radical. I'm sure he's engaging behind closed door, but he's speaking out. He has spoken out about the increase in the pump price of PMS. He has spoken about a number of things.
One very short question, because before I come to my last question, coming to Osun State, can a very senior lawyer who is not an SAN aspire to be president of the?
Always.
Can they aspire? Can they get there?
Not only can they aspire. This last election, one of the contestants, Tobina, was not an SAN. The last but one NBA president, Mr. Olumide Akpata, was not and is still not an SAN, and he was one of the best bar leaders that we have produced. I was to mention, when talking about the conference, that we have conferences on alternative dispute resolution, and when I was commenting, the governor of Osun State was sponsoring us. That's one of the things we can refer to. For example, there is a cutting-edge training on alternative dispute resolution here in Osun State. In my department, we have a unit that is called Citizen Mediation Center. We have a department that's Office of Public Defender. They give free legal services. OPD give free legal services to indigent people. Citizen Mediation Center mediate on disputes, commercial dispute, matrimonial dispute, like all kinds of disputes. And we need cutting-edge training all the time. And this goes on. A lot of people do not know. And we do not go to that because it's not a commercial thing. But Mr. Governor enabled us to access training, to be able to avail the common man on the street.
One last question. You are the director of law reform here in Osun State.
Yeah.
What are your duties? Very briefly, law reform.
Well, thank you very much.
And how much?
Beginning from the simplest, Well, one of
Time
the
is
things,
not on our side. So
what
very
we
briefly.
do first, we are the ones that draft or vet bills, executive bills. When government wants to turn policies to law, they draft bills. It is my department that either drafts or vet proposed bills and packages are made it ready for consideration by the ESCO and approval by the governor to be sent to the House of Assembly for passage into law. So for you to have laws, executive law, my department is like the printing press, it's like the main thing, it's like where we do the work. Now, besides that, my department also, we are supposed to help in gathering the existing law for review and for revision towards law reform from time to time. The law should not remain what it has always been, and where the law has changed, there's recodification. We should gather the law of Osun State, for example, in the last 20 years. We should bring them together, review them, make sure our laws are up to date, and they are in codified volumes so that you can be sure what the law is. So you may not know that a law has been passed and you are citing the laws of 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 10 years ago. But if you have volumes of law, you know where to look at the law. That's part of the work of the department. And secondly, the implementation of laws for reforms. How do we transform the Ministry of Justice? How do we help the judiciary in the states to reform, to be able to carry out their constitutional responsibility more effectively in an atmosphere that will be enabling? Those are part of the changes that we should propose and we should help to implement.
Well, thank you very much. Time is of the essence. I'd like to draw the anchor at this point in time. I have been in a dialogue with Barrister Kayode TItioye, Director in charge of law reforms here in Osun State. I want to believe that you have gained so much from what he said, what he does as a law reformer, the director in charge, and the conferences the NBA holds annually. I am Adetoyese Shittu-Alamu. I'd like to thank you, Barrister, for the engagement, and thank you very much for coming.
Thank you very much for having me. I thank my superiors, my SGPS, the Attorney General for letting me come.
Okay, thank you for releasing him. We see some other time. I am Adetoyese Shittu-Alamu, thanking you very much. And as I normally say, repeatedly and repeatedly. We see you next week. Goodbye for now.